This session is the relational polarity. It's the foundation of being a human being, being in relationship. It's the foundation of all of the IPP polarities that cover what I call the human world. The previous four polarities had to do with qualities that we share with all living beings, except that we bring our deeper conscious awareness to these foundational life polarities, I call them, that we share with all life. We talked about three polarities where we develop an inner stillness and settle into an inner stillness of being aware and present and interrupting the automatic stimulus response and being open to our deepest sense of stillness and creating a practice around that we might optimize how we are able to function in our life and work. And the capstone of that was the intention polarity, really, that we share with all living things is what do I do next? I come from a place of awareness, and I have some intent. And the still point of that was a place of fullness and abundance, and having a quality and attitude of being grateful and having an unlimited source of generosity. And this intention polarity, grounded in abundance, bumping up and supporting the relational polarity, is sort of the 1-2 punch related to human flourishing. And what you'll find me working in community on how to get communities to come together and work across their differences and get something done. It's grounded in abundance and possibility. We can do this in our lives. We can do this in our groups. We can do this in our political system. But it's all about, on top of that, being in relationship. Being in relationship to self, to others, to collections of others like groups and organizations, communities, society, being in relationship to nature, being in relationship to spirit. And so this is foundational to being a human being individually and in community. And the polarity itself is the quality of agency or separation or conscience or having some inner sense of control, and communion, being connected to others, being connected in terms of all the spectrum of relationships that we have. And so it's fascinating where, say, for instance, politically, oh, I'm a libertarian and I'm all about freedom, or I'm all about fairness and social justice. And let's denigrate those who are on the opposite side of this political chasm that we often have. But with any polarity, a primitive way to hold it is this is right or that is right, or it's either or. Ultimately, it's both and. You need to hold both of those qualities, and in the maturity of holding that polar quality and that polar energy, there's a deep integration where finally you have a sense that my sense of agency and conscience is deeply embedded in communion. And my deepest sense of purpose is always a sense of purpose that includes myself, but it extends beyond myself until the two don't seem to have much difference to them. And with every polarity, in this polarity, when that integration happens and there is no separation between the two, you drop down to a place that bring this quality, this dynamic, into a place of rest and stillness. That's the essence of the IPP practice. And what stimulates this internal sense of self and separation and being in communion is fear, really. in that when you initially sense there's something separate from myself, I'm kind of concerned about that. I mean, there's some danger here, perhaps. And what really enables us to bring that relational dynamic to a resting place, a transcendent resting place, is have a deep quality of trust, of transcendent trust. Trust in that which you have an ultimate belief in or connection to. It could be the divine, it could be the absolute, maybe the quality of your highest self. And in my practice over the years, anybody that I've really practiced with can find this place. It doesn't matter what their belief is. So just as a matter of stepping into this quality with me, bring forward, maybe close your eyes a little bit or just look down a little bit. Bring forth the deepest quality of trust that you can find. Trust in that which is ultimate, that which is, there is no fear. Not an intellectual trust so much, but a deep childlike trust in this moment where there is no fear. There is stillness. There is peace here. There is no tension here. And this is the beautiful transcendent quality to practice. It's the foundation of our relational life in order for everything else to work well and deeply. And with every other still point, there's a paradoxical quality here, because by being present, by being grounded in this place of abundance and possibility and complete trust, we don't fall into naivete and getting taken advantage of. We see more clearly in this moment what not to trust, what we should trust from our deepest perception and wisdom and compassion, not based on the habituations we have of, oh, I've had bad experiences here, so I avoid these kinds of people, or I avoid this person because of this experience I had. I don't trust them. In this moment, you have all of that background and context available to you, but by coming from a place of trust and no fear, you can see more clearly what you should trust. You can have access to the wisest and most compassionate and loving response to whatever the situation is. And that derives directly out of trust. It's just inevitable. You feel it. The flow is a flow of love and concern and caring and compassion for yourself and every object of relationship, every relationship that you have. There's a quality of unlimited and unqualified love. And of course, is sort of qualified and limited by how we grasp and still are tied to the concerns in the background and the ego issues that we have. But as a practice, it opens up this door for love to be there, grounded in wisdom. And one can be present in this relational environment and see clearly what's going on and have this love flowing through. It gives you a confidence to behave appropriately in this moment, whatever that moment is. And so that other virtue that arises, other than the virtue of doing, which is love, the virtue of becoming, this more transcendent attitude, is a quality of hope, of deep transcendent hope. And bring that forward within you in this moment, this quality of hope, and bring it forward. Be that. I'd like to invite this quality of hope, transcendent hope, to come forward. Not the littleness of hope for things or outcomes or possessions, but the beautiful hope that comes in this environment of trust and love. Which is a gift to self and others to behave appropriately and be a resource. Even when you're in the middle of suffering, maybe you're even dying, you can still be a resource to those around you because you're connected to that trust. Love is flowing through you. You have a sense of abundance and gratitude and unlimited generosity that feeds into this relational quality of trust and hopefulness, transcendent hope. Which brings that classic triumvirate together of faith or trust, hope, and charity, or unlimited love in terms of a Judeo-Christian framing of it. It doesn't matter the tradition you're from, those qualities are simply there to be a resource. And this love generates its own, as a virtue of doing it, generates its own transcendent polarity, like we have in each one of these IPP polarities. The polarity of transcendent hope and transcendent sorrow. That in the world are opposites. We avoid sorrow so we can have joy, but not here, not in this transcendent sense. I'd like to invite you to bring forward this quality of transcendent sorrow. I'd like to speak to that quality. I'd like to be that quality with that quality within you. And feel how there are no limits here in this sorrow. There's no resistance here, so it really isn't suffering. It's being able to descend below all things, to have empathy and embrace whatever the seriousness of the situation, whatever the trauma, whatever the disaster, whatever the suffering is going on around you. It's grounded in love, unlimited transcendent love, this unlimited transcendent sorrow, which gives you the capacity in the moment to deal with anything, to have empathy, sympathy, capacity to provide a presence of hopefulness and caring and love, and to feel the sorrow and the suffering around you without limits. And now bring forward this quality of transcendent joy. Oh, no limit to this joy. This what arises out of this pervasiveness of love and deep trust and connection to the source and hopefulness. Just feel the beauty. And yet also feel there is no pathway to this joy without embracing sorrow. The world would tell you in all of its messages out there, avoid the sorrow, avoid the suffering so you can be full of joy. No. Coming from the depth of love, be connected to all, embrace the suffering, to be able to embrace the fullness of transcendent joy. So these other polarities and practices that we've done before, they're critical, they're foundational, getting centered in stillness, embracing the fullness of abundance and gratitude, which is so foundational. But the highest leverage principles for human flourishing and resilience and joy and happiness, paradoxically including unlimited sorrow, is where human flourishing is centered in that relational environment. And there's a beautiful study which summarized multiple other studies about human resilience and compared them and cross-compared them to try to define what are the highest leverage principles of human flourishing and resilience. Well, the summary principles are, as a researcher would say, with agency, having an internal locus of control, knowing that you may not control much outside of you, but you control your own attitude. You control your conscience. I am connected. I am in communion. And those who have a deep, rich resource of relationships and connections flourish and live longer, even if they have a lot of other habits that aren't so healthy. It is just incredibly important to embrace both of these polarities. And by them coming together, having a sense of purpose, but not just that, a sense of purpose that's greater than yourself, that inevitably comes from tying these two qualities, polar qualities together, agency and communion, having a sense of purpose greater than yourself. Having a deep sense of hopefulness in the moment. This is glass half full. This is being a resource to everyone else and as well as yourself, no matter what is happening. And what pervades all of this is love. Love is the juice, the spiritual juice, the flourishing juice, the juice of growth and possibility and joy. That joy and sorrow that you can have. And the interesting thing is that what all the science misses is that which is at the center of all of this, that deep quality of trust. Trust in the source, trust in the divine, trust in the ultimate, that place where there is no fear, where one can be centered in stillness and peacefulness, and where the greatest gift you can give a community that's in stress or a family that's in stress or a group that's struggling is to engender that quality of trust that can flow through you. Help them find trust in each other. Help them touch into the trust that's already within them, that's connected to the deepest source of trust that they can have. Doesn't mean you have to be a proselyter of some religious belief in a community environment, but you can bring that quality that people recognize and feel into and are in awe of and so deeply appreciate. That feeds and sustains all these other principles of human resilience and human flourishing. And what is, as I've mentioned before, what is just pervasive through all of this by being grounded in this trust, having a quality of hopefulness, being supported by this quality of abundance and gratitude. Love just flows throughout all of this and enables our relationships in every single dimension to flourish, that we might flourish, that we might have joy, a deep, sacred joy, grounded in love. Thank you.